The cold moon of Hannah 7 was never meant to be important. It was just a small mining colony at the edge of human space, far from Earth, far from everything that mattered. The 2,400 people who lived there were workers, scientists and families, who wanted a quiet life among the stars. They had a small school, a medical center, and dreams of building something new. They did not know they were about to become a symbol that would shake the entire galaxy. Commander Una Park stood at the observation window of the command center, watching the distant stars. She was 34 years old, with sharp eyes and a calm voice that her soldiers trusted completely. She had been stationed at Hannah 7 for 2 years, and in that time, nothing exciting had ever happened. She had 80 soldiers under her command, and most days they did nothing but run drills and complain about the food. That morning, everything changed. The alarm screamed through the base at exactly 0347 hours. Una was in her quarters when the red lights began flashing. She ran to the command center, her heart already beating fast. When she arrived, her communications officer looked at her with fear in his eyes. "Commander," he said, his voice shaking, 15 ships just dropped out of hyperspace. They are Veloci. Una felt her blood go cold. The Veloci Empire was one of the most powerful civilizations in the galaxy. They were tall, insect-like creatures with hard shells and no mercy. Humanity had tried to stay away from them, tried to remain small and unnoticed. But the Veloci had noticed anyway. "Oh, what do they want?" Una asked. The answer came through the communication system. A harsh, clicking voice spoke in broken human language. "Human colony. You sit on resources that belong to the Veloci Empire. Surrender now. Give us everything. We will take it from your dead bodies." Una looked at her soldiers. She looked at the screens showing the 15 warships surrounding their tiny moon. She thought about the 2,400 people sleeping in their beds, including 312 children who had school in the morning. "Send a distress signal to Earth," she said quietly. "Maximum priority, Commander," her officer said. "Earth is 47 light-years away. Even with faster-than-light communication, help will take days to arrive. Maybe weeks." "I know," Una said. "Send it anyway, then start moving civilians to the underground bunkers." The Veloci gave them 1 hour to surrender. Una used that hour well. She woke every family personally, speaking calmly, even as parents grabbed their children and ran. She ordered her 80 soldiers to take positions around the colony. She turned mining drills into weapons. She prepared to fight. When the hour ended, the Veloci began their attack. The first bombs fell like rain. The shield around the colony held for 17 minutes before it collapsed. Then the real destruction began. Buildings exploded. Streets turned to fire. The beautiful little school where children learned about Earth's history became a pile of broken stone. Private Minho Kong was 21 years old and had never fired his weapon outside of training. When the attack started, he was guarding the eastern bunker entrance where many families were hiding. He was terrified, but he did not run. He stood at his post as the sky burned above him. The Veloci ground troops came next. They were 8 feet tall, with 4 arms and eyes that showed nothing but hunger. Minho watched them march toward his position. He thought about his mother back on Earth. He thought about the children behind him in the bunker. He raised his weapon and started shooting. The battle lasted 47 hours. 47 hours of fire and blood and screaming. Dr. Taiho Shin, the colony's medical officer, worked without rest, pulling wounded soldiers and civilians from the rubble. He was a gentleman of 50 years who had become a doctor because he wanted to help people, not watch them die. But that night, he watched many people die. He held their hands and told them it would be okay, even when he knew it was a lie. Commander Una fought on the front lines. She refused to hide in the command center while her people died. She killed 14 Veloci soldiers with her own hands before an explosion tore through her position. She woke up 3 hours later in the medical bay. Her left arm was gone, cut off above the elbow. Dr. Taiho had saved her life. "The battle?" she asked, her voice weak. Taiho could not meet her eyes. "It's over, Commander. They had lost." Of course they had lost. 80 soldiers against thousands of Veloci warriors. It was never going to end any other way, but they had fought. They had made the Veloci pay for every meter of ground. Private Minho survived, but just barely. He had been shot twice while protecting a group of children who were trying to reach the bunker. The children made it inside. Minho collapsed at the door, his blood mixing with the frozen dirt. A medic found him 2 hours later, still alive, still holding his weapon. When the dust settled, the Veloci planted their flag in the center of the colony. They sent a message to the Galactic Assembly, announcing their victory. They laughed about how easy it had been to crush the weak humans, but the numbers told a different story. 1,847 humans dead. 312 of them were children. The youngest was a girl named Sora, who was 4 years old. She had been hiding under her bed when the bomb hit her home. The distress signal reached Earth 3 days later. In Seoul, at the headquarters of the United Earth Defense Council, Admiral Sun Woo-han received the message personally. He was 58 years old, a man who had spent his whole life preparing for war. He watched the footage from Hana 7 in complete silence, saw the burning buildings, the dead children, the Veloci flag flying over human graves. His aide asked him what they should do. Admiral Sun Woo turned away from the screen. His face was like stone, but his eyes were burning. "Mobilize everything," he said. "Every ship, every soldier, every weapon we have, sir," the aide said carefully. "The Galactic Assembly might not approve of military action. They will want us to negotiate." Admiral Sun Woo looked at the young man for a long moment. "The Galactic Assembly can watch," he said. "They did nothing when those creatures killed our children. Let them watch what happens next." Far away, on the frozen moon of Hana 7, Commander Yuna lay in a hospital bed and stared at the ceiling. She had lost her arm, her soldiers, and the people she had sworn to protect, but she was still alive. She made a promise to the dead, whispering it into the darkness of her room. "I will make them pay, every single one of them. I swear it." Earth had received the message. Earth was waking up. The news spread across Earth like wildfire. Every screen, every device, every public display showed the same images. The burning colony, the dead bodies, children who would never grow up. 12 billion humans watched in horror, and then that horror turned into something else. Something dangerous. President Yoon Joo-moon had not slept in 3 days. She was 52 years old, a former diplomat who had spent her career building peace. Now she stood in front of cameras, preparing to speak to all of humanity. Her hands were shaking, but her voice was steady. 3 days ago, she began, "The Veloci Empire attacked our colony at Hana 7. They killed 1,847 of our people. They killed 312 children." She paused, and billions of people held their breath. "The Veloci believe we are weak. They believe we will cry and beg and accept our loss. They are wrong." In living rooms and offices and factories across the planet, people stood up and they listened. "We did not want war," President Yoonji continued. "We have never wanted war. But war has found us. When war finds humanity, we do not run. We do not hide. We fight, and we win." Her eyes were hard now, all the diplomacy gone. "To the Veloci Empire, I say this. You made a terrible mistake. You will learn what that mistake costs." The broadcast ended. And across Earth, people began to move. Young men and women lined up at military recruitment centers. Factories that had been making consumer goods started making weapons. Scientists who had been studying stars started studying how to destroy them. Admiral Sun Woo-han called a meeting of the High Military Council. The room was full of generals and admirals, the most powerful military leaders on Earth. They all looked worried. The galaxy knew humanity as a small, peaceful species with a modest defense fleet. How could they possibly fight the Veloci Empire? Admiral Sun Woo stood at the head of the table and smiled. It was not a nice smile. "Gentlemen," he said, "I think it is time to show everyone what we have been building." He pressed a button, and the wall behind him lit up with images. Warships, thousands of them. Massive vessels bristling with weapons that no alien species had ever seen. The generals stared in shock. "For 50 years, Admiral Sun Woo explained, we have been preparing. While the galaxy thought we were weak, we were building. While they laughed at our small fleet, we were hiding our real strength. We have 3,000 warships ready for combat. 200 of them are extinction-class vessels, capable of destroying entire planets. One general found his voice. Why did we hide this? Because Admiral Sun Wu said, the moment the galaxy learned how strong we really are, they would have seen us as a threat. They would have attacked us before we were ready, so we waited. We let them think we were harmless. And now the Veloci have given us a reason to stop pretending. The Galactic Assembly sent a message that same day. They urged humanity to remain calm, to seek peaceful negotiations, to accept the loss and move forward. The Veloci, they said, W.A. Air too powerful to challenge. War would only bring more death. Admiral Sun Wu recorded his response personally. He made sure it was broadcast to every corner of the galaxy, to every species that could receive it. To the Galactic Assembly, he said, his voice cold and clear, you watched the Veloci murder our children and said nothing. You have no right to tell us what to do? To the Veloci Empire, we do not negotiate. We do not forget. We do not forgive. We are coming. Prepare yourselves. In the intelligence division, a young analyst named Hannah Choi was working around the clock. She was 28 years old, brilliant, and very angry. Her cousin had been a teacher at Hannah 7. Her cousin was now dead. Hannah turned her grief into focus, studying everything she could find about the Veloci Empire. After 3 days without sleep, she found something important. She ran to Admiral Sun Wu's office and showed him her discovery. Sir, she said, the Veloci have 47 colony worlds, but only 12 shipyards capable of building warships. If we destroy those shipyards first, we cripple their ability to replace losses. They will not be able to rebuild their fleet. Admiral Sun Wu looked at the young woman and saw the fire in her eyes. Good work, he said. This is exactly what we need. Captain Ji-Hoon Lee received his orders on a Tuesday morning. He was 13 years old, the commander of the UES Revenge, the most advanced warship in the human fleet. He had been waiting his whole career for a real fight. Now he had one. His orders were simple. Take 500 ships to the Veloci border. Find their shipyards. Destroy them. Show no mercy. As he walked to the bridge of his ship, he passed Commander Yuna Park in the corridor. She was supposed to be in a hospital, recovering from losing her arm. Instead, she was wearing a military uniform and walking toward the Revenge. Commander Ji-Hoon said, surprised, "You should be resting." Yuna looked at him with eyes that had seen too much death. "I'm coming with you," she said. "I'm going to be your tactical advisor. Your arm, I can fight with one arm. I can think with one arm. And I made a promise to the dead." She stepped closer. "Don't try to stop me, Captain." Ji-Hoon nodded slowly. "Welcome aboard, Commander." The fleet launched at midnight. 500 warships, each one carrying hundreds of angry humans who wanted revenge. As they entered hyperspace, Captain Ji-Hoon broadcast a message to every ship in the fleet. "Soldiers of Earth," he said, "in a few days, we will meet the enemy. The same enemy who killed our families, our friends, our children. I know you are angry. I am angry too. But I want you to remember something. We are not fighting just for revenge. We are fighting so that this never happens again. We are fighting so that no alien species ever thinks they can attack humanity without consequences. Remember the 312 children who died at Hannah 7. Let their memory be your strength. Let their faces be the last thing the Veloci see." Far across the galaxy, the Veloci High Command received reports that a human fleet was approaching their border. They laughed when they saw the numbers. 500 ships? They had 8,000 warships defending their territory. The humans were walking into a slaughter. "These creatures are stupid," one Veloci general said. "They send 500 ships against our thousands. This will be easier than taking their colony," another general agreed. "Perhaps we should thank them. They are saving us the trouble of hunting them down." They did not understand. They could not understand. They had never seen humans truly fight. They had only seen a tiny colony defending itself with 80 soldiers. And mining equipment, they were about to learn the difference between fighting human civilians and fighting the human military in her quarters aboard the Revenge. Commander Yuna sat alone in the darkness. She touched the place where her arm used to be. She thought about the soldiers she had lost, the family she could not protect. She thought about little Sora, the 4-year-old girl who died hiding under her bed. "I'm coming," Una whispered to the ghosts. "I'm bringing 500 ships and all the anger of Earth. Wait for me a little longer. I'm coming to make things right." The fleet moved through hyperspace like a spear flying toward its target. Earth had awakened, and the galaxy was about to discover what that meant. The Veloci border system of Krathfor was supposed to be unbreakable. 3 massive shipyards floated in orbit around a gas giant, protected by 2,000 warships. Admiral Torak, the commander of this fleet, had spent 30 years building his reputation as an undefeated warrior. He had crushed rebellions, destroyed enemy fleets, and expanded the Veloci Empire across dozens of star systems. When his sensors detected the human fleet dropping out of hyperspace, he felt nothing but amusement. 500 ships, he said to his officers, clicking his mandibles in the Veloci equivalent of laughter. The humans send 500 ships against 2,000. They must have a death wish. He opened a communication channel to the human fleet. On his screen appeared a human male with calm eyes and no expression on his face. This was Captain Ji-Hoon Lee. "Human Commander," Admiral Torak said. "You are outmatched and surrounded. Surrender now, and I will grant your crews a quick death. Continue forward, and I will make you suffer." Captain Ji-Hoon said nothing for a long moment. Then he spoke 3 words. "Swarm protocol. Execute." Admiral Torak did not understand what that meant. He was about to learn. The human fleet did not fight like any species the Veloci had ever encountered. Other aliens formed battle lines. They grouped their ships together and fired in organized volleys. They fought like armies on a field. Humans fought like wolves hunting prey. The 500 human ships exploded into motion, scattering across space in patterns that seemed random but were anything but. Every ship was connected to every other ship through advanced AI systems. They moved as one mind in 500 bodies, reacting to threats in microseconds, exploiting weaknesses before the Veloci even knew they existed. Commander Una sat at the tactical station, her one remaining hand flying across the controls. She saw the battle like a chess game, predicting enemy movements and sending orders to the fleet. Squadron 7, target their command ship's engines. Squadron 12, provide cover fire. Squadron 3, prepare for flanking maneuver on my mark. The Veloci ships tried to respond, but they were too slow. They were used to enemies who stood still and fought face to face. The humans never stood still. They struck and vanished, appeared where they were not expected, and always kept moving. Captain Ji-Hoon watched the battle unfold from the bridge of the Revenge. His weapons officer reported kills every few seconds. Target destroyed. Target destroyed. Another one down. "Keep firing," Ji-Hoon said calmly. "Don't give them time to think." Admiral Torak was screaming orders at his captains, but nothing worked. His ships were being torn apart by an enemy half their size. The humans targeted specific systems with impossible accuracy, disabling engines and weapons instead of trying to destroy whole ships. A Veloci warship without engines was helpless, floating in space while human ships moved on to the next target. In the first hour, the Veloci lost 300 ships. Admiral Torak lost his confidence. "How?" he demanded. "How are they doing this?" No one could answer him. No one had ever seen anything like this. Commander Una's voice came through the fleet communication system. "All squadrons begin Phase 2. Target the shipyards." The human fleet had not just been fighting randomly. Every movement, every attack had been pushing the Veloci fleet away from the shipyards. Now there was a clear path, and the humans took it. 100 ships broke away from the main battle and raced toward the first shipyard. It was a massive structure, kilometers long, filled with half-built warships and thousands of workers. The shipyard commander sent a desperate message. "We surrender. Please, we are not soldiers. We are builders." Commander Una heard the message. Her finger hovered over the button that would call off the attack. She thought about mercy. She thought about the rules of war that said you should accept. Surrender. Then she thought about the children of Hannah 7. She thought about the 4-year-old girl named Sora. She remembered that the Veloci at Hannah 7 had shown no mercy, had killed civilians and children without hesitation. Destroy it, she said quietly. The shipyard exploded in a ball of fire that could be seen from planets light years away. The second shipyard tried to run, activating emergency engines to escape. It did not get far. Human missiles caught it within minutes, tearing it apart piece by piece. The third shipyard did not even try to surrender. They knew it would not matter. By the 6th hour, the battle was over. The numbers told the story. 1,847 Veloci ships destroyed. The exact same number as humans killed at Hannah 7? This was not a coincidence. This was a message. Of the remaining Veloci ships, most had fled into hyperspace. Admiral Torak was among the survivors, his command ship badly damaged but still flying. He had entered this battle confident of victory. He left it with his reputation destroyed and his understanding of the universe completely changed. Captain Ji-hoon opened a communication channel that would broadcast across Veloci space, reaching their homeworld and every colony. Veloci Empire, he said, his voice steady. This was not revenge. This was a receipt. You took 1,847 human lives at Hannah 7. Today we have collected payment. But the bill is not yet paid. The 312 children you killed still cry out for justice. We will continue until that debt is settled. He ended the transmission. Around him, his crew sat in silence. They had won a great victory, but there was no celebration. This was not a game. This was not sport. This was war, and war was a serious business. Commander Eunice stood and looked out at the burning remains of the shipyards. She felt no joy. She felt only a cold satisfaction, like crossing items off a very long list. 3 shipyards down, she said. 9 more to go? Across the galaxy? Other species watched recordings of the battle. They watched in shock and fear. The Drillian ambassador, a creature with blue skin and wise eyes, sat with his aides and tried to understand what he had just seen. The humans were never weak, he said slowly. They were hiding, pretending, waiting. But why? His aide asked. "'Cause that is what predators do," the ambassador replied. They wait in the tall grass, looking harmless, until prey comes close enough. Then they strike, shook his head. The Veloci thought they were hunting humans. They did not realize they were walking into a trap set by creatures far more dangerous than themselves. On the Veloci homeworld. The Emperor received the news of the defeat at Krathfor. He was an ancient creature, nearly 200 years old, who had ruled his empire for over a century. He had never known fear. He had never lost a war. Now his advisors stood before him, telling him that a species they had dismissed as weak and worthless had just destroyed 2,000 of his warships and 3 of his most important shipyards. "Send more ships," the Emperor commanded. "Send 10,000. Crush these insects." "Your Majesty," one advisor said carefully, "we do not know how many ships the humans have. If they were hiding their strength all along, they may have more than we thought." Much more. The Emperor dismissed this concern with a wave of his claw. "They cannot have more than us. No one has more than us. We are the Veloci Empire. We will destroy them all." But even as he spoke those words, doubt crept into his mind. He had seen the recordings. He had seen how the humans fought. And somewhere, deep inside, he began to wonder if his empire had made a terrible, unforgivable mistake. Back on the Revenge, Commander Yuna finally allowed herself to rest. She sat in her quarters, alone, and looked at a photograph she kept in her pocket. It was a picture of her soldiers at Hannah 7, taken just 1 week before the attack. They were smiling, laughing, enjoying a rare day off. Most of them were dead now, but she was still alive, and she would make sure their deaths meant something. 9 more shipyards, she whispered to the photograph. "And then we go for the heart. I promise you. I promise all of you. We will finish this." The war had only just begun. 3 months had passed since the battle at Krathfor, and the Veloci Empire was burning. What had started as one battle had become a war that spread across dozens of star systems. Human fleets moved through Velocity space like fire through dry grass, destroying everything military and leaving everything civilian untouched. Admiral Sun Wulhan now commanded the main fleet personally. He had left Earth with 1,000 warships and had been joined by another 1,000 along the way. Behind him, 9 of the 12 Veloci shipyards lay in ruins. 15 of their 47 colony worlds had surrendered to human forces. The war was going better than anyone had expected, but Admiral Sun Wu knew better than to celebrate. Wars could change direction quickly. One mistake could cost everything. On a conquered Veloci world called Trith Prime, Sergeant Minho Kong led his squad through the empty streets of a major city. He was not the same young man who had defended a bunker door at Hana 7. 3 months of war had changed him. He had seen things that would never leave his mind. He had done things that he would have to live with forever. His squad entered a building that their sensors said contained life forms. They moved carefully, weapons ready, expecting enemy soldiers. Instead, they found Veloci civilians hiding in a basement. Adults and children huddled together in the darkness, looking at the human soldiers with terror in their many eyes. One of Minho's soldiers raised his weapon. "Should we?" "No," Minho said immediately. "Lower your weapon." "But Sergeant, they're Veloci." After what they did to us, Minho grabbed the soldier's weapon and pushed it down. "Look at them," he said quietly. "Look at the children. Do they look like warriors to you? Do they look like the monsters who attacked Hana 7? The Veloci children were crying, holding on to their parents. They were small, their shells soft and undeveloped. They looked nothing like the soldiers Minho had fought. They looked like what they were: scared kids who had done nothing wrong. "We are not them," Minho said firmly. "We do not kill children. We do not kill civilians. That is what separates us from monsters." He reached into his pack and pulled out food rations. He placed them on the ground in front of the hiding Veloci. "Take it," he said, in broken Veloci language he had learned during the war. "Food. Safe. We not hurt you." The Veloci adults stared at him in shock. They had expected death. They had been told that humans were savage beasts who would destroy everything they touched. Instead, this human soldier was giving them food. Slowly, carefully, one adult reached out and took a ration pack. "Thank you," she said, her voice barely a whisper. Minho nodded and led his squad out of the building. Behind him, his soldiers were quiet. Some of them understood. Others did not, but none of them argued. Far away, in a field hospital on another conquered world, Dr. Taiho Shin was working. He had volunteered to serve on the front lines, setting up medical stations to treat the wounded. But he did not treat only human wounded. He treated everyone who needed help, including Veloci civilians. Today, a young Veloci child was brought to him. She had been caught in an explosion and was badly hurt. Her parents had been killed. She was alone and dying. A human soldier watched as Dr. Taiho worked to save her. "Why do you bother?" the soldier asked. "She's one of them." Dr. Taiho did not stop working. His hands moved quickly, sealing wounds and stopping bleeding. "She is a child," he said simply. "I am a doctor. I help children, but after what they did to our children was evil," Dr. Taiho agreed. "And we are fighting to make sure it never happens again. But if we become like them, if we start killing their children, then what are we fighting for? What kind of victory would that be?" The soldier had no answer. He watched as the doctor saved the Veloci child's life, and he wondered if maybe he understood something important. At the Galactic Assembly, an emergency session had been called. Representatives from 200 species gathered to discuss the human war against the Veloci. Many of them wanted to intervene to force humanity to stop fighting. They were afraid. If humans could defeat the Veloci so easily, what might they do to other species? Ambassador Soman Jang represented Earth at this session. She was 45 years old, elegant, and absolutely terrifying in her calmness. She sat quietly while alien delegates stood up one by one to criticize humanity. "The humans have gone too far," one delegate said. "They are destroying the Veloci Empire. This is not self-defense. This is conquest. They must be stopped, another agreed. The violence must end. When they finished speaking, Ambassador Soman stood. She looked around the chamber at all the alien faces watching her. "You speak of violence," she said, her voice soft but carrying to every corner of the room. "You speak of going too far. But where were your voices 3 months ago? Where were you when the Veloci murdered our children? Where was your concern for violence then?" No one answered. "You said nothing," Ambassador Soman continued. "You watched the footage of burning children, and you said nothing. You told us to accept our loss. You told us to negotiate with the creatures who killed babies in their beds." Her voice grew harder. "You do not get to lecture us now. You lost that right when you chose silence." Right. One delegate tried to interrupt. "If you do not stop this war, other species may be forced to intervene." Intervene. Ambassador Salman smiled, but there was no warmth in it. "Please, try. Let me tell you what will happen. You have seen our fleet of 3,000 ships. What you do not know is that we have 12,000 more in reserve. We have weapons that can crack planets in half. We have soldiers who will fight to the last breath." She looked directly at the delegate. "We do not want to fight you, but if you force us to, we will end you, all of you together." The chamber was completely silent. "Humanity did not start this war," Ambassador Salman said, "but we will finish it. On our terms. Any species that tries to stop us will share the fate of the Veloci. That is not a threat. It is a simple fact. Now, if you will excuse me, I have a war to win." She walked out of the chamber. No one tried to stop her. Back at the front lines, Admiral Sun Wu received reports that the Veloci were begging for peace talks. Their empire was collapsing. 9 shipyards destroyed. 15 worlds lost. Hundreds of thousands of soldiers dead. They wanted the war to end. His aide brought him the message. "Sir, the Veloci Emperor himself is requesting negotiations. He is willing to offer significant concessions." Admiral Sun Wu read the message carefully. The offer was generous. The Veloci would return the bodies of the Hana 7 victims. They would pay reparations. They would apologize publicly, sir. The aide asked. "What should I tell them?" Admiral Sun Wu crushed the message in his hand. "Tell them no." "Sir, not yet. They have not learned completely. Still think this is a negotiation, a deal between equals." He looked out the window at the fleet surrounding his command ship. "We are not here to negotiate. We are here to teach them something they will never forget. When we are finished, no species in this galaxy will ever think about attacking humanity again. When will we be finished, sir?" Admiral Sun Wu's eyes were cold. "When I say so. Now, prepare the fleet. We move on the Veloci homeworld in 3 days." On the Veloci homeworld, the Emperor watched human ships gather in the darkness of space above his planet.
Oh, yes.
There were more ships than he could count. More than his empire had ever seen in one place. For the first time in his 200 years of life, the Veloci Emperor understood true fear. He understood what he had done when he ordered the attack on Hana 7. He had awakened something terrible, something that would not stop until it had taken everything from him, and there was nothing he could do. But wait for it to come. The Veloci homeworld had never been invaded. In 4,000 years of history, no enemy had ever reached this far into their territory. The planet was supposed to be safe, protected by the might of the greatest empire in the galaxy. Now 2,000 human warships filled the sky, blocking out the stars, and the Veloci people looked up in terror at what their leaders had brought upon them. Admiral Sun Wuhan stood on the bridge of his command ship, looking down at the planet below. It was a beautiful world, covered in purple forests and silver oceans. Millions of Veloci lived there, most of them ordinary people who had never hurt anyone. His finger hovered over a button that could send missiles raining down on those forests, those oceans, those innocent millions. He did not press it. "Admiral," his weapons officer said, "we have firing solutions on all major military installations. On your command, we can eliminate their entire defense network. Target military installations only," Admiral Sun Wu ordered. "Civilian areas are not to be touched. I want precision strikes, not genocide." Some of his officers looked surprised. They had come here expecting complete destruction. The Veloci had shown no mercy at Hana 7. Why should humans show mercy now? Admiral Sunwoo saw their faces and understood their questions. "We're here to win," he said calmly. "We are here to make sure this never happens again. But we are not here to become monsters. The Veloci killed our children because they thought we were weak and worthless. We'll prove them wrong, not just by defeating them, but by being better than them. That is how we truly win." The precision strikes began. Military bases exploded. Defense platforms fell from orbit. The Veloci fleet, what remained of it, tried to fight back and was destroyed in minutes. Within 3 hours, the Veloci homeworld had no military capability left. Then Admiral Sunwoo did something that shocked everyone, human and alien alike. He boarded a shuttle with no guards and no weapons, and he flew down to the planet alone. He landed in the capital city and walked through the streets by himself. An old human man surrounded by millions of Veloci who could have killed him easily. But no one touched him. They watched him walk past, this small creature who had brought their empire to its knees. And they understood that killing him would only make things worse. His fleet above could destroy them all. It was showing them that he did not need protection. He did not need guards. He was not afraid of them at all. The Emperor waited in his throne room, surrounded by his advisors and the last of his guards. When Admiral Sunwoo entered, he was the only human in a room full of creatures who had sworn to destroy humanity. He walked forward until he stood directly in front of the Veloci Emperor. "You expected me to bomb your cities," Admiral Sunwoo said. "You expected me to kill millions of your people as revenge for what you did to us." The Emperor said nothing. His ancient eyes watched the human carefully. "I could do that," Admiral Sunwoo continued. "I have the power, have the reason. No one in the galaxy would blame me." He paused. "But I am not here for revenge. I am here for justice. And justice is not the same as revenge." He pulled out a document and placed it on the floor in front of the Emperor. "These are the terms of your surrender. You will read them. You will sign them. You will obey them for the rest of your empire's existence." The Emperor picked up the document with shaking claws and read it. As he read, his face changed from fear to shock to despair. The terms were harsh. The Veloci Empire would pay reparations to Earth for 100 years. They would dismantle their military completely, keeping only enough ships for basic defense against pirates. They would arrest and try every officer responsible for the attack on Hana 7. But the hardest term was the last one. "You want us to build a memorial," the Emperor said slowly, "on our homeworld? With the name of every human you claim we killed?" "Not claim," Admiral Sunwoo said. "Killed 1,847 names, including 312 children. And you will not just build the memorial. You will teach your children about it. Every generation forever will learn what happened at Hana 7 and why. They will learn that their ancestors made a terrible mistake, and they will learn never to repeat it. You ask us to shame ourselves for eternity. No, I ask you to remember. There is a difference." Admiral Sunwoo stepped closer to the ancient Emperor. "You wanted our resources. Now you will give us yours. You wanted our submission. Now you will give us your pride. You killed our children. You will remember them forever. That is the price." The Emperor looked at his advisors. They offered no help, no alternative. There was nothing they could do. The human fleet above could destroy them all with a single command. Slowly, the Emperor signed the document. Admiral Sunwoo took it back and nodded. "One more thing," he said. "I want you to understand what happened here. We showed you mercy today. We let your species live. Your cities still stand. Your people still breathe. We could have taken everything from you, and we chose not to." His voice hardened. "Remember that, and pray that you never give us reason to come back." He turned and walked out of the throne room, leaving the broken Emperor behind. 2 weeks later, Ambassador Salmon Jang addressed the Galactic Assembly for the final time. The chamber was fuller than it had ever been. Every species wanted to hear what humanity would say now that they had one. "The war is over," she announced. "The Veloci Empire has surrendered. Their military is being dismantled. They will never threaten anyone again." Murmurs filled the chamber. Some delegates looked relieved. Others looked terrified. All of them looked at the human ambassador with new eyes. "I know many of you are afraid of us now," Ambassador Soman continued. "We have seen what we can do. You wonder if we will come for you next." She let the fear hang in the air for a moment. "We will not. Humanity did not want this war. We wanted to explore the stars in peace, to build new worlds, to learn from other species. The Velocity forced us to fight, and we fought. But we take no pleasure in destruction." She looked around the chamber, meeting the eyes of delegate after delegate. "Let me be very clear about something. We do not start fights. We finish them. We protect our people. All of our people, no matter how far from Earth they might be. If you respect us, if you leave us in peace, we will be the best friends you have ever had. But if you harm our people, if you kill our children, if you mistake our kindness for weakness," she smiled, and it was not a friendly smile, "then you will learn the same lesson the Veloci learned, and it will cost you everything." The chamber was silent. "This is not a threat," Ambassador Soman concluded. "It is a promise. Remember it." On the rebuilt Outpost Hannah 7, Commander Una Park stood before a memorial wall. The small mining colony was gone now, replaced by a fortress with 50,000 soldiers and enough weapons to stop any fleet. But in the center of the fortress was a garden, and in the center of the garden was a wall made of black stone. 1,847 names were carved into that stone. Each name was someone Una had failed to protect. Each name was a wound that would never fully heal. She reached out and touched the section where the children's names were carved. Her mechanical arm hummed softly as her metal fingers traced the letters. She found the name she was looking for. Sora Kim, age 4. "We didn't forget," Una whispered. "We promised we would make things right, and we did. The Veloci will never hurt anyone again. Their children will grow up learning your names. For 1,000 years, they will remember what their ancestors did to you." A tear ran down her cheek. "I hope that's enough. I hope you can rest now." Behind her, Dr. Taiho Shin approached quietly. He had aged 10 years and 3 months. The war had taken something from him that he would never get back. But he was still standing, still healing. People, including the first Veloci medical students, who had come to learn from human doctors. "Are you all right?" he asked Una. "No," she said honestly. "I don't think I'll ever be all right, but I'm at peace. We did what we had to do. We protected humanity. We showed the galaxy what happens when you hurt us. And we did it without becoming the monsters they thought we were." Taiho nodded. "That matters more than people realize. Anyone can destroy. The Veloci proved that. But to have the power to destroy and choose not to show mercy when you don't have to, that's what separates civilization from barbarism." On Earth, Sergeant Minho Kong retired from the military. He was only 22 years old, but he had seen enough war for several lifetimes. He became a teacher, working with children in a small school in Busan. He taught them about history, about the stars, about the war he had fought. "We are strong," he told his students one day. "Humans are very strong. We can fight better than almost anyone in the galaxy. But strength is not just about fighting. Strength is also about knowing when not to fight. About helping people who need help even if they are different from us. About building things instead of destroying them." A young boy raised his hand. "Teacher, were you scared in the war?" Minho smiled sadly. "Every day. Being brave doesn't mean not being scared. It means being scared and doing the right thing anyway. Across the galaxy, alien parents told their children a new bedtime warning. Be good, or the humans will come. Human children were told something different. They were told to be strong, to be brave, and to protect the innocent. They were told that power came with responsibility, and that true strength meant knowing when to show mercy. The galaxy had learned to fear humanity, but more importantly, they had learned to respect us. Not just for our weapons or our ships or our ability to destroy, but for who we chose to be when we had every reason to be cruel. And that, in the end, was humanity's greatest victory of all.